afternoon and welcome. My name is Christy Bardenhagen and I'm the Vice President of the League of Women Voters of Leelanau County. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. We never ever support or oppose candidates or parties. Membership is open to men and women 16 years of age or older who subscribe to the purposes and policies of the League. The Leelanau League currently has 184 members, of which 35% are men. More information on the League may be found at lwvleelanau.org. Annual dues are $5 for students, $60 a year for non-student individuals, or $90 for a household membership. Dues assistance is available. Membership applications can be found online at our website, lwvleelanau.org, and also on the table in the hallway. When you join the League of Women Voters Leelanau County, you also become a member of the League of Women Voters Michigan, the League of Women Voters United States, and the League of Women Voters Lake Michigan region. And you will receive publications and updates from each of them as well. At this point, I would like to ask if there are any announcements. Jan.
Yes, some of our presenters, Leelanau politicians that promote the vote, brought some handouts for you today, which are over on these tables. So please feel free to take those when you leave. And after this meeting, there will be a general membership meeting, and after that, our Equal Rights Amendment ERA committee will meet. So if you're a league member and on those committees, please stay put after this meeting. Thank you.
Ann Rogers, co-chair of NEMIAC. There are 2 marches coming up that we hope some of you or many of you will participate in. One is on the 8th, which is next Saturday at 1 o'clock, meeting at the open space, and that is coordinated with 350.org. It's called Rise for Climate. The other one is on the 13th. It's the nurses, a march for the unionization of the nurses. That's at 4:30 p.m. and you meet up at 11th and Division Street, and then they're going to march over to the hospital.
Our next forum will be October 3rd. Please mark your calendar and plan to join us then. The topic will be Understanding and Preventing Substance Abuse in Leelanau County. It will be here in this room at noon on October 3rd. You're all invited. At this time, I would like to invite those running for public office to introduce themselves. Oh, and don't forget, October 9 is the last day to register to vote in the November election.
Since I'm still standing, I'm Marion Kromkowski, and I'm running for a nonpartisan position, Leelanau County Probate Court. Marion Kromkowski. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Patricia Sotis Little, and currently I am the County Commissioner for Leland and Centerville Townships, and running again for re-election. Would definitely appreciate your support.
My name is Carolyn Rentenbach. I'm also known as Pinky. And, I'm running for County Commissioner in District 6. So if you lived in Empire, Cleveland, or Glen Arbor Townships, I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Lois Bailey, running for County Commission, District 3, which is part of Suttons Bay Township and part of Bingham. Appreciate your support.
Julie Morris, I'm running for County Commissioner 2, District 7. That's in Caston and Solon Township. Thank you for your support.
And Jane Gale. I'm running for trustee, Village of Northport, for a 2-year term. Will Harper is here somewhere, who's running for the 4-year term.
Hello, I'm Garth Greenan. I am running for the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners, Road Commissioners. So I thank you for your support. Thank you.
I guess Jane kind of forced my hand, and Will Harper running for Northwood Village Council.
Ty Wessel running for re-election as County Commissioner for District 4.
Okay, we are passing around sign-up sheets for forums. We have a whole bunch of forms and we need a lot of help. And if you already have signed up, please sign up again. We want to get everybody on the same page. Today's forum features information regarding the 5 Michigan ballot proposals. We have 3 speakers I would like to introduce now. Here to speak on the Promote the Vote is Erica Pressman. Did I say that right?
Harrisman.
Harrisman, yes. Erica is an executive committee member of Promote the Vote. She's a full-time volunteer for the ballot proposal. Previously, she was a business lawyer. She has served as the Director of Philanthropy at Gleaners Community Food Bank of Southeast Michigan. Welcome, Erica.
Thank you.
Speaking on Voters Not Politicians, or the anti-gerrymandering ballot proposal, is Bob Arentz.
Mike Arentz. Mike.
That's why I said that. Mike Arentz is a lifelong Michigan resident who married his high school sweetheart, and they raised a family of 3 children in suburban Grand Rapids. He's an MSU Journalism School graduate and has had leadership roles in public schools, church, and nonprofits. He's retired from sales and marketing leadership in 2017. He first visited Leelanau County in '79 and now owns a home in Northport. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
Our last speaker is a league member, Joan Eno. Currently, she is our board secretary and part of the Leelanau League of Women Voters Michigan State Board. Welcome, Joan. Now, Joan will start first.
When we go to the polls on November 6th, which is about 60 days from now, we will have an opportunity to cast our votes for citizen-initiated ballot proposals. It's likely there will be 5 in all: the legalization of recreational marijuana, the Independent Citizen Redistricting Commission, earned sick time for employees, a phased-in increase of the minimum hourly wage, and the inclusion of certain voting rights in the Michigan Constitution. I say it's likely there will be 5 because we cannot be absolutely certain today whether there will be 4, 5, or 4, or 3. Our ballot is not yet finalized. It must be finalized by this Friday, September 7th, so that it can be assembled, printed, and mailed to overseas voters in time for the general election. So this Friday is the deadline that everyone is hustling to meet. And when we set the date for this public forum, for all of you lovely people to attend, we didn't expect that we wouldn't have our ballot finalized by this date, but we're actually about 2 days early. Well, why is this last-minute hustle necessary? There are 2 important procedural tasks that have not yet been done. First, to meet this Friday goal, the Board of State Canvassers is going to meet tomorrow, Thursday, at 10 o'clock, and also on Friday morning at 10, to adopt the 100-word descriptions or summaries of 4 of the ballot proposals. Those 100-word descriptions are what appear on the ballot. Only one of those 5 descriptions is now complete, the description for the Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. The 4 descriptions not yet complete are those concerning the legalization of recreational marijuana. That's on the Board of Canvassers' agenda for tomorrow. I just checked last night. Their agendas are online. And then on Friday, they'll take a look, if necessary, or they'll decide if necessary, the 100-word descriptions for the earned sick time for employees, the phased-in increase of the minimum wage, and the inclusion of voting rights in the Michigan Constitution. The Bureau of Election staff, who work in the Office of the Secretary of State, will recommend their 100-word descriptions to the State Board of Canvassers at those meetings. Those descriptions will be debated, modified, likely, and then hopefully adopted. But they may not be. The State Board of Canvassers has 4 members appointed by the governor, 2 from each political party. Partisan deadlock is often the result of their deliberations. Consequently, those deliberations are going to be long. I think it's possible that they will be long. They will and must, however, be completed by the end of this week, by Friday. There's a second reason for our uncertainty today, and that is the constitutional role of the legislature. 2 of the proposals, the one concerning earned sick time for employees and the one phasing in the increase in the minimum wage, are proposals to change statute laws. And while the Constitution of Michigan allows us, Michigan registered voters, to propose new laws or to repeal existing laws, it also allows the legislature to adopt those proposed changes rather than placing them on the ballot for the voters to decide. Michigan is, as we know, one of fewer than half the states in the Union whose Constitution allows us as citizens to propose changes in our statutes and to our Constitution. For statutes, this right is found in Article 2, and there are 2 ways to proceed. You can do it by initiative petition, which repeals or changes an existing statute, or you can do it by referendum petition, which repeals a statute in its entirety. For constitutional amendments, our right to amend is in Article 12. To accomplish these statutory changes, citizens form ballot committees, proposal committees, they raise money, they report what they raise 6 times a year under the campaign finance laws, and they circulate petitions. In the Constitution, the required minimum number of petition signers is pegged to the total number of votes cast in the most recent gubernatorial election. The number's low for proposed changes in statutes, 5% for referenda, 8% for changes in statute laws, or what we call initiative petitions. And it's highest of all, 10% for petitions that we circulate to change the Constitution. After those signatures are collected, the State Board of Canvassers certifies that they are accurate and adequate. So, we have the right to propose these changes. However, there's more when it comes to the statutes that are proposed. Article 2 of the Constitution concerning proposals to change statutes also specifies that the legislature has 40 session days from the time a proposal's signatures are certified by the State Board of Canvassers to vote that proposal up or down without change and without amendment. If the legislature does not vote within those 40 session days, then the proposal goes to the ballot for a vote of the people. The Constitution further specifies that if the legislature does not act within the 40 days and the people adopt a new statute at the ballot box, then the legislature can amend that new statute by a 3/4 vote in each chamber. That's 82 people in our Michigan House and 28 in our Senate. That's a very high threshold. However, if the legislature adopts the proposed statute within the 40 days, the proposal does not appear on the ballot, the people cannot vote on it, and then, and this is an important distinction, the new statute can be amended by the legislature in the future by a simple majority vote. So 56 votes in the House and 20 in the Senate. So to recap, if the majority of a legislature favors the proposal, they can adopt it. The people do not vote, and the proposal becomes statute law. Note too, that if the majority in the legislature is opposed to a proposal, they can also adopt it. The people do not vote. The proposal becomes statute law, and then later the legislature can amend that law, that is, change it or repeal it with a simple majority vote. So to sum up, we have 5 possible ballot proposals when we go to the polls in November. 2 ballot proposals would amend the Michigan Constitution, the Citizens Redistricting Commission, and the inclusion of voting rights. Those we think will be on the ballot for sure. We also have 3 possible ballot proposals that would be new statutes: marijuana legalization, earned sick time for employees, and a phased-in increase in the minimum wage. And during this past spring, the legislature tried to find the votes to adopt the proposal to legalize marijuana so they could more easily amend it later. However, they failed, and the 40-day window passed. So that proposal will appear on the ballot with the 2 constitutional amendments, we think. Consequently, we know we have a pretty good idea that we'll have 3 proposals to vote on. But as of today, the legislature has not taken a vote on the sick time and minimum wage proposals. They returned from their summer recess this morning, and they may yet vote this week, in fact, later today, because the earned sick time 40-day lapses today. The minimum wage 40 days extends to October 7th, but that's beyond the time when we have to certify this ballot on Friday. The Senate leader is on record as saying he will schedule a vote in the Senate only after the House votes to approve either or both of those proposals. So the earned sick time or the minimum wage increase. The House Speaker is on record saying he will discuss the possibility of taking up the 2 proposals with his Republican caucus today. The Democratic leader of the House is on record asking that the people be allowed to vote on both proposals. And last Friday, legal counsel for the House Democratic caucus said that a 1964 Attorney General's opinion prohibits a legislature that adopts a citizen-initiated proposal before the people vote from amending that statute until the following legislative session. So there's lots going on in Lansing as we meet here today. That AG opinion rules that the so-called adopt and amend that they're contemplating, according to some press reports, would be unconstitutional. So, in sum, we know we'll have an opportunity to vote on, we think, 3 proposals, and we will know by the end of the week if we have 4 or 5. And with that, I'd like to step into the proposal, the overview of all 5 proposals, which is a presentation that we put together through the Michigan League of Women Voters Education Fund. I want to thank Mike
Page down.
for saving us here today. The county's new equipment, we couldn't get to work today, but Mike brought it back up, and we're very thankful for that. So here they are, the ballot language and how the proposals work, some pros and cons provided by major supporters and opponents. This overview gives what we hope is a balanced presentation so that you can take information from it and go to websites and collect further information if you have questions. We're not responsible for some of these views and facts as a league because we went to those websites to glean this information. I have copies of these slides for you if you want them later, so feel free to take them. I'll put them over on the side table. So we have 5 proposals. They're placed on the ballot through citizen petitions. 3 of them would initiate laws. 2 of them are constitutional amendments. They take a simple majority to approve. And a voter-initiated law takes effect 10 days after the official declaration of the vote, whereas an approved amendment becomes part of the Constitution 45 days after the date of the election. Can the legislature change a constitutional amendment passed by the voters? No, it cannot. Can the legislature change a law if passed by the voters? A law? No. Yes, it can, with a 3/4 vote in each house. And as I just described to you, they can also vote within that 40-day window and take it off the ballot. So we have 5 that we're going to talk about: marijuana legalization, independent redistricting commission, paid sick leave, minimum wage increase, and promote the vote. The 2 in red are our amendments to the Constitution. We have the 100 words proposed for the marijuana. We're going to do the marijuana proposal first. These are the 100 words that we know that the Board of State Canvassers will be looking at tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock at their meeting. So you can read there that this is in addition to our medical marijuana legalization, which happened 10 years ago. This is for recreational use. And it allows people who are 21 or older to purchase, possess, and use marijuana and marijuana-infused edibles, and to grow up to 12 marijuana plants for their personal consumption. It imposes some limits in terms of by ounce. It creates a state licensing system for marijuana businesses, including growers, processors, transporters, and retailers. It allows municipalities to ban or restrict marijuana businesses. And it also permits commercial sales subject to a new 10% excise tax on the product. That excise, it doesn't say this in the 100-word proposal or statement, in the 100-word description, but that excise tax, money raised from that excise tax would, 35% of it would be used for K-12 education, 35% of it for roads and bridge repair throughout the state, go into the transportation fund. And the remaining 30% is split 2 ways in half, so that 15% would go to local jurisdictions and that have businesses within them, and also to counties. So it's for local government, for municipalities and counties. And there's also a bit of money dedicated, if indeed this were to pass and these taxes were levied, there's money dedicated for some research on the use and the effects. So these are the things it does. And these are the states where we have marijuana legalized. Legalized for medical uses in the blue states, and I think 10 states now where we're legalized for recreation and medical use. So the summary by the pro side says this is a sensible alternative, that we've failed in our prohibition in the past. It positions us as a national leader in the adoption of smart adult use marijuana laws, creates a state-regulated system, it enacts this excise tax. And that's a group that supports them, and you can go to their website to learn lots more. These are other groups who also support. The opposition side says that recreational marijuana industry targets our youth. It can make us dangerous drivers. I don't know how to take this. I guess most of us would be parents, as understood by this statement. So you can see that those are the statements in opposition, and the source is Healthy and Productive Michigan. And they claim it's not good for our economy, despite the taxation mechanism that would be set up because law enforcement costs increase generally, is that way that argument goes. So this is who opposes. And again, a copy of these slides is available if you want to take these websites home with you. Okay. So sample pros and cons. We've been a huge failure so far in our attempt to regulate or not permit at all. And we need the new revenue. But it's bad for us, and we could lose money. Now we'll go on to the second proposal. Now this is the one that Mike will talk about later, and this is the one where we actually have the 100-word statement finalized by the Board of State Canvassers. So we know this is what we're going to be voting on. They just finalized this last, I can't remember if it's Thursday night or Friday night. But it's going to say, and the only added words after the deliberations by the State Board of Canvassers was to add the words in the title, a commission of citizens was added. A proposed constitutional amendment to establish a commission of citizens with exclusive authority to adopt district boundaries for the Michigan Senate, Michigan House of Representatives, and the U.S. Congress every 10 years. And then you can see that they've taken that very long proposal and consolidated it to explain that there are 13 registered voters randomly selected, 4 from each of the, who self-identify from each of the 2 political parties, or the largest ones, and 5 who will self-identify as unaffiliated. It mentions the prohibition for partisan office holders or people who worked in the legislature or continue to work in the legislature. It establishes the new redistricting criteria, and it mentions the criteria that would be followed. And it mentions that there would be an appropriation of funds for commission operations and commissioner compensation. Oops, went the wrong way. So I'm going to let Mike, I'm going to go through this real quickly because you've got quite a bit to say about this, and I'm going to allow that to happen so we're not here all afternoon. So it lays out how we would apply if this were to pass, and the fact that there have to be public meetings. It's all done in public. The transparency is really quite broad in this proposal. Virtually everything, including the criteria, are specified. And these are the summary arguments on the pro side. And this is a list of many organizations that support what will be proposal 2. And the opposition believes and makes the argument that this proposal removes the voice of the governor, the legislature, and the courts. And therefore, the commission would be unelected and unaccountable. And it argues that it would place an inordinate amount of power in the hands of a partisan Secretary of State. The people who oppose Voters Not Politicians are these groups with their websites. And the Michigan Chamber of Commerce and the Michigan Republican Party have opposed. Sample pros and cons. There's some pros. Here's some cons. I wanted to mention that many of you know the League of Women Voters in Michigan has a court suit about gerrymandering. We've been on record as to be in favor of citizen commission to establish redistricting for almost 2 decades. We more recently, last December, filed a suit in federal court asking the court to declare unconstitutional the districts that were drawn in 2011 and to require new districts be drawn. If that suit were successful and it's set for trial next February, this lawsuit would affect districts for the 2020 election. Proposal 2 does not conflict with it in any way. If it were